Welcome back. We are still discussing the importance of media autonomy to our democratic values. This takes me to another question. Yinka, does the freedom of expression bill in practice or in papers?
That's a very big question. We've talked about freedom of expression. We've talked about freedom of information. We've talked about everything that is relating to speech, freedom, speech, talk, rights, everything. Nigeria has everything. Whether it is in paper or it's in practice, is now left to be seen. For example, the freedom of expression is contained in our Constitution. The 1999 Constitution, as amended, Section 36, gives us freedom of expression. I, as a journalist and as a media house, you are entitled. It's an entitlement that you can write freely, vividly, be informed, to empower people and to be able to say it as it is. But can we say it as it is? Do we have the freedom to express our minds?
That's why I would say the freedom is like it's only in paper. It's not in any practice, because if you express your mind, either they say it's hate speech or they go and find the media house like what we just explained. That young man just express himself the way he feel.
Exactly.
But I know that it's not also a yardstick to abuse people in a way because you have freedom of expression.
Exactly.
Yes, we still need to guide our words as a matter of fact.
And even that same Section 36, Part 2, put a caveat on what you should say, how you should say it. You have to be mindful as well.
Yeah.
You cannot, I cannot just insult or throw insult at the nation without knowing the consequence.
Yes.
Because so the mind is free to express
Just
itself.
because I have freedom of speech. Okay, that's right.
And then begin to pick hatred to other tribes, bigotry, whatever. No, you have to be cautious and careful, even though it is freedom. Freedom is not absolute. So we've been told it's not. Your freedom ends where mine begins. And people say, look at your nostril, that point where it is the edge. My own is the next one. So that's where your own freedom comes.
Yes. Somebody said something ago that freedom is not free.
It's not. There's no free meal in Freetown.
So if you say because you have freedom, then you go and still you find yourself in Kirikiri. So you know that it's not free.
So it's neither here nor there. It's written, but it's not absolutely out there for you to hold.
It's not only this law. There's so many laws now that we have in Nigeria that is not being implemented and you don't work with it. So many things, not only this.
But unless you challenge the law, if your freedom is being encroached on, you can challenge and it can be proven and returned to you. So,
okay, the next question, how can the NBC, which is Nigeria Broadcasting Commission, regulate the practices of media outlets without any perceived hatred of the media?
There has been this issue a few days ago when we saw one of the candidates in the election made an acceptance speech. And in the same election, some people, another medium, said something else. And they were sanctioned. And people were saying, what about the media where the so-called person made an acceptance speech? Shouldn't that medium be sanctioned?
Also sanctioned as well?
We haven't heard whether NBC would do that or not. And that is even a government outlet. So as for whether NBC is supposed to do this or that, it has its own regulation. It has its own, as by its acts of promulgation, has the do's and the don'ts for the radio and the television. Because we have other regulatory bodies sanctioning or for the print or the other medium. But NBC is the big brother, and they can do what they want to do, but they claim they do within the ambit of the law. But who wields the stick? who dictates what? You know,
That's
the
the
government
issue.
composes the members of the board. So sometimes they can be biased. And we have seen instances where they are biased.
Of
This one I
course.
just mentioned.
It's part of it.
Two media houses or so in the same day did two things. One got penalized,
One was not penalized.
the other one wasn't penalized. So where is the fairness?
That's the thing.
Where is the fairness? But then they are empowered to do the regulatory work they do. They are empowered to do it. Without them, there probably would be more flouts of the law. So they are there to put the law there, and they are there to regulate the law, and they are there to also punish or sanction. It's all for the good of the society, I want to believe. But whether they are doing it right or not, we will continue to bring out the issues so that they can also moderate their own attitudes.
All right, thank you so much. Maybe finally, before we take break and allow the audience to ask their questions, is what is that importance now of media autonomy to our democratic values?
Well, you know, today we have the traditional media, we have the new media.
Yeah.
And where the challenges are, mainly are in the new media.
Okay.
We have a lot of people who are not trained in the profession, who are bloggers. We have a lot of people who call themselves citizen journalists. We have a lot of people who call themselves community journalists who can write, who can post anything. So far they have the Android phone or they have a mobile device, they write, they do anything. Regulating those ones is a task. So, but then, when the traditional media who are autonomous in its true self give information, give value, so that you cannot fault them. The fact remains that if you have not seen it on the regular media, if you have not seen it in a credible site, don't take it to be the truth. Okay. There are lots of people cloning information, cloning people. There was one on all over the social media where somebody was saying, oh, there was still pressure on whether our president-elect is okay or not. And people were looking for where to take faults. And actually, I've seen a lot flying around. Could those video going around in the last 24 hours be true? That is where the fact-checking comes in. Yeah. So every citizen is empowered to fact-check the truth about any news item. Yes. And the credibility of any information will be in the site that is printing it out.
What do you also talk about this social media too? A lot of news will also carry social media. And they also to be, controlled too by NBC.
That's a huge one because they've been asked this question. They can't. They don't have the means. They can't. They are not empowered. The Cybercrime Act was introduced, but in the truth of it, how do we have the resources? Even the Western nations don't have the resources and the tools to gag. Yeah. The only thing that can be done like China is doing is to ban everybody. Like even in some of these our bigger media outlets like BBC, CNN, their staff are told to limit what they subscribe to. Okay. You can't find them on certain sites. So they are moderated. They are not allowed to be on the social media on their own. Because if you find any BBC reporter, for instance, saying anything online, you are likely to think is saying the opinion of the organization. So, but that's not true. So you have to limit what you decide to go to, at least while you are a staff. Okay. So the issue of autonomy and democracy of the country, for instance, is still very sacrosanct. To a very large extent, we still need our media houses to check what we do. We need ourselves to check what we do. We need ourselves to introspect in whatever we push out to the public and check ourselves, fact check. But by and large, our media houses in Nigeria, our media outlets, the newspaper, the TV, the radio that are well organized and out there are doing very well. The problem lies with the online. The online, some of us now have bodies that are regulating access, but there are quite 1,001 million others that are just free. It's a free space. It's a free space.
Well, thank you so much. We'll take a break now, and then we will come back to a question and answer session. Vivid View.
Say and do it. Thank you.